Washington. But if there's any truth to their claim, these men will link back to a common ancestor who lived generations ago. The first step on our journey back toward Adam.
So you guys interested in finding out if you could be related to Genghis Khan himself?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, and then I'll pass.
Tapping the power of DNA starts with a basic tool.
Sterile, by the way, which is kind of like a glorified toothbrush. Pull it out of the container. Just like that.
Just a few cheek cells, and Wells can unlock secrets from our genetic past. With a simple swipe, Wells hopes to trace these men all the way back to a famous warrior who lived 800 years ago and thousands of miles away. Genghis Khan is one of the greatest historical figures of all time. 8 centuries ago, he ruled one of the largest empires the world has ever seen. What are the chances that a couple of guys in a San Francisco bar could be related to such an extraordinary man? Machines analyze the Mongolian's DNA, looking for traces on the Y chromosome that could link them to Genghis Khan. The odds against finding a connection seem astronomical.
Hey, guys.
But Wells has some surprising news.
We've got the results.
He's found evidence that 2 of these men are related to Genghis Khan.
These are your results. Sarandorj Dembarel and Batur Tumor. All right.
What makes Wells think that these men link back to Genghis Khan himself? He's never met them before. He doesn't have their family trees. And he doesn't have Genghis Khan's DNA. But Wells believes the Y chromosome can confirm the link. Most of the time, the Y chromosome is passed unchanged from father to son, like a last name. But sometimes little differences creep in, like the spelling of a family name changing over time. Every so often, a harmless mutation appears on one man's Y chromosome. All his sons inherit that mutation, and all their sons. It marks all descendants like a brand. That's how Wells found that 16 million men are cousins. Their Y chromosomes all show the same mutations. That means they're all descended from one single man, a Central Asian super ancestor. But who was he? Wells and other genetic detectives pieced together the clues. The mutations cluster around one place, Mongolia. They trace to almost 1,000 years ago. Scientists believe he must have been a man of power, who had many sons to pass on his family line. The clues all point to one man, Genghis Khan. The evidence is circumstantial, but compelling. Khan's empire stretched from Kazakhstan to Korea. He ruled a dynasty that lasted generations. His sons and their sons had the power and position to spread his Y chromosome. As his armies swept through Central Asia, they cut down their enemies, and often, it's said, took their women. The result? More offspring with Genghis Khan's Y chromosome, and other men's lineages destroyed forever. Genghis Khan's DNA is buried with him in an unknown grave, but his Y chromosome mutations survive in his descendants today. The research shows the Y chromosome can take us back hundreds of years. But to find scientific Adam, we must trace a man from our very beginning who fathered not millions, but billions. The payoff is almost unimaginable. An Adam who may have been the first truly modern human, whose Eden we can pinpoint, whose face we can reconstruct. This is a scientific quest, yet the idea behind our search was first written down in a document of faith, the Bible. Thousands of years before genetics, the book of Genesis tells of one man who fathered us all. The Bible gives no physical description of Adam, saying only that he's created out of dust in God's image. Adam's rib provides the raw material for the first woman, Eve. God gives them a home, the Garden of Eden. But soon, tempted by a serpent, Adam and Eve eat from the tree of knowledge and are cast out of paradise. Adam and Eve have children, and according to the Bible, this one family has grown to include everyone on earth today. The New Testament's Gospel of Luke lays out Adam's family tree, generation by generation. But what if we tested someone today who claims to be linked to that lineage? Most of the people the Bible places on Adam's family tree have disappeared without a trace. Yet one stands out as a significant historical figure, Solomon, the third king of Israel. Even today, there are people who claim to be directly descended from Solomon, the Ethiopian royal family. It seems far-fetched. The Jerusalem of Solomon is 1,500 miles from Ethiopia. But the Ethiopians claim to have an extraordinary piece of physical evidence that ties them to the Holy Land. The Ark of the Covenant was believed to contain the tablets of the Ten Commandments, the Word of God. Legend says it was kept in a temple built by Solomon in Jerusalem, until it was taken by Solomon's son, Menelik, and later brought to a little church in Aksum in northern Ethiopia. Today, the Ethiopian royal family claims direct descent from Menelik, and so from Solomon. If that's true, their family tree connects directly to the biblical lineage of Adam. To test that lineage, we'll need a royal who will cooperate. In 1974, Ethiopia's Emperor Haile Selassie was deposed. The royal family fled into exile. We tracked down a prince who agreed to participate in our search on one condition. We can't reveal his identity. He wants to avoid accusations that he's using his link to Solomon to reclaim the throne. The prince takes a secret DNA test. A few tiny cheek cells transport us deep into the past. The DNA can reveal where the prince's ancestors came from. Could it link him to Solomon? The results are tantalizing. The prince's Y chromosome mutations do lend support to his claim. They point to Middle Eastern ancestry, but it's not definitive proof. With Genghis Khan, we had 16 million men pointing to one man. With Solomon, we may have one Ethiopian prince. There's simply not enough evidence to go on. The experiment shows how hard it can be to trace the Bible's genealogy. It's a book of faith, not forensic evidence.
What the Bible is saying about creation is way beyond the scope of science. It's not about DNA and all that. It's about who we are as people.
In Hebrew, the name Adam also means people.
What's important about Adam is that Adam is every person.
The Bible gave us the idea of Adam. But finding the scientific version will take modern genetics. If we succeed, we'll link all men today back to a scientific Adam. And maybe even pinpoint his Garden of Eden. As people move from place to place, they often end up far from where their lineage began. Our family tree is becoming tangled at the top. Tracing family lines is getting harder and harder. There's only one way to clear away the tangles. Analyze Y chromosomes from people who still live in the land of their forefathers. To get a clearer picture of our family tree, Wells is leading a research project with the National Geographic Society and IBM. It's called the Genographic Project. It's a massive undertaking. It will take years. But when he's done, Wells will be able to tell where anyone in the world comes from. Wells and his colleagues have crisscrossed the globe in search of DNA samples. From Aborigines in Australia to tribesmen in South America. They've journeyed from Central Asia to South Africa to Siberia. Wells can already tell a lot about someone's origins just using their Y chromosome. And he thinks he's found something unexpected in the background of one of America's most famous figures. The third president, Thomas Jefferson. Research on Jefferson's Y has already given us one huge surprise. It had long been suspected that Jefferson fathered children by his slave, Sally Hemings. A 1998 study used the Y chromosome to prove that it was almost certainly true. It showed that this white man apparently had black descendants. Now, Wells believes he's discovered something about Jefferson that no one suspected. A discovery not about his descendants, but about his ancestors. And it could take us a big step toward Adam. Wells noticed that Jefferson's Y chromosome mutations don't look European. So where did Jefferson's ancestors come from? To find out the truth, Wells needs another DNA sample. The trail leads to rural Virginia. One of the closest living relatives of the founding father lives in Fries, Virginia.
Now, do you have any sense of your own ancestry and who you're descended from?
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson. How many
Odine
generations
Jefferson shares the founding father's last name.
Yeah.
He also inherited his Y chromosome.
It's not going to hurt, and you rub it on the inside of your cheek. Really scrape away, up and down.
Everything about Jefferson points to him being European. Genealogists have traced his ancestry back to medieval France and Britain. But the test reveals something you might never have imagined. Jefferson's Y chromosome links him not to Europe, but to the Middle East, what is now Lebanon and Syria. This is the best guess. A direct ancestor who lived in a land that no longer exists, called Phoenicia. The Bible calls it Canaan. Jefferson may look European, but his Y chromosome tells a different story. It shows that what we look like may not really tell us where we come from. And it raises a question mark over the traditional image of Adam. For centuries, artists have depicted him like this, like a European. For many of us, this is Adam. Michelangelo's famous painting in the Vatican's Sistine Chapel. He looks like a beautiful Italian who spends a lot of time